to us.
Yeah, that's right.
There are some of our listeners that have just returned from church.
Yeah.
Hope service went well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing to say.
Well, yeah, it
Welcome
is.
back.
It's welcome back from the presence of God.
And for those that have been listening to us, maybe at work
Yeah.
or you've just been home, thank you so much for staying on this dial.
Yeah.
It is home affairs, and we have a stern belief on this program that if we can get it right from the home front, the society will be a better place.
That's right.
It is always heartbreaking if something happens and they refer to the mother or the father or the husband or the wife or the grandparents and all of that. But then if the home front can get to the foundations of an issue, or if the foundations are actually right, you will always see it in that person.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because just like we had established last week, the same way a lot of bad things can be inherited by children,
Yeah.
good things can also be inherited, and it takes it takes deliberate efforts. It's not easy raising up children in this time and generation.
Yes.
But we know that we would rather it goes well than for it not to go well.
That's
so
right.
so we have to talk about some of these issues and then talk about solutions, most importantly,
I agree.
so that we can do better.
I totally agree with you, Joan. And last week we started a conversation and we promised that we were going to have an exclusive today.
Yeah.
When we talked about the issue of what the problem is
Yeah.
when it comes to a child acting in a particular way, and sometimes the action is not is something that is worrisome. That's what we're looking at, and that child might not be a child per se.
Yeah.
But then, could it be that the problem started from a particular time, and all of that? So we're going to be speaking with an expert on the matter for us to be able to see how we can sort some of these issues out. So if you are a parent and you're listening, maybe you've been struggling with your child, right? Please join us on this program, and then you need to
Absolutely.
call other people to listen.
Yeah.
We're not saying that your child has issues. We're saying that sometimes the information that you have will
Yeah.
help a family somewhere.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to, just join us. We're actually live on Facebook as well, so you can go to at Eagles FM Abuja and join us on the program.
That's right.
And so you will learn a lot. We have Professor Okonoda on the line. Professor, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Denwa.
Happy Sunday.
Same to you.
Yes. I know that you have a lot of feathers on your cap, but if you can just share with us in brief who Professor Kingsley Okonoda is.
I am not hearing you well.
Are you hearing me
Uh-oh.
now?
Maybe you can make it louder.
Are you hearing us now?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
thank
great.
God.
So I need to come close to the mic. So I was saying
Yes.
that there are a lot of feathers to Professor Kingsley Okonoda's hat. But if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the topic for today.
All right, thank you very much, Denwa. My name is Professor Kingsley Mayowa Okonoda. I'm a professor of addiction, social and rehabilitation psychiatry at the University of Jos,
Okay.
and a consultant psychiatrist at the Jos University Teaching Hospital.
Okay.
I also have a treatment facility that are called Network Medical Services and Rehabilitation Center in Jos, where we treat people with addiction problems, mental illnesses, and all that. And we also have what we call Network Consult, which is actually the parent organization. It's a human capital development organization. We just basically we help people to achieve sustainable success using psychological and mental health principles and maintain their mental health in the process, so that they can also be contributing members of society.
Thank you.
So we do trainings and workshops, therapy, rehabilitation, and all that. So that is what I do in a nutshell.
And we sincerely appreciate you. Sometimes I go through your posts on social media, and they've been really helpful. That is one of the reasons why we felt you are one person that will be able to help us today.
Yeah.
Now, last week, sir, we started a conversation here on the program, and that's on the issue of the young girls that attacked one of
Yes,
their
their
peers.
colleague, yeah.
Okay.
And the girls in Edo, the news was all over the place on how they physically assaulted
Assault.
that young lady and everything. And we started discussing this. And one of the questions that we asked is, if somebody could get that violent, could it possibly be that there is a foundational problem? So let's go back to the childhood of people in general. Does
All right.
the things that happen from my childhood, can it have an effect on who I become
As an adult.
as an adult, even if I am not taught with blackboard and chalk or whiteboard and marker? The things I see, the things I've been told, can it become a product of who I am today?
All right, then, well, thank you very much. I think, jokingly, I would say you are begging the question. Because you have succinctly said it.
Okay.
See, most people are a product of nature and nurture. When we say nature, we are talking about the thing that we have inherited from our parents in terms of our DNA that manifests in our character and our personality and all that. The way we behave, the way we walk, sometimes the way we talk, the tone of our voice and all that. But the interesting thing about that is also that we are also affected by nurture. By nurture now, I will talk about environment. So nurture does not necessarily mean that we are intentionally nurtured that way. It may also mean that by the things that we have experienced. So if I am somebody that have been abused as a child, and the only way to get whatever I want is to be violent and to throw tantrums, I have learned by default that is the way to get ahead and get what I want. It will invariably become that experience. I will know that is how to behave to get what I want. If I have been abused and violated, so I will naturally go into survival mode. So I will live my life by surviving, by suspecting people. I will probably start having talks like dog eat man, dog eat dog, those kind of talk, as if you have to be competitive, you have to destroy others to get ahead and all that. So everybody is product of nature and nurture. So the advanced childhood experiences that people experience while growing up invariably becomes who they are. Then number two, people also by modeling. So are you with me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, we're here.
Yes, modeling. They model themselves after their parents, or sometimes it's not the parents that is the most significant person in people's lives. They model themselves after the most significant people in their lives. That's why sometimes I am worried about people who ship children to the boarding school as early as single digit ages. I say other people will be the one that will parent your children, and you may not be the one that will form and shape their mindset, their belief system and all that. So people learn by modeling. So they model themselves after the people that they are seeing that they are significant others. They don't do it consciously. It just becomes a part of them. It just becomes normal with them that this is how this is. So if people fight, they fight. If people learn to negotiate, they learn to negotiate because they have seen their parents do it. In fact, do you know then what that a number of people will tell themselves, I will not behave like my father. I will not behave like my mother. But invariably they end up behaving like that. They end up becoming the thing that they say, I will not do, because it has been ingrained into them one way or the other. So eventually you see. But another interesting thing about it is this. Even that nature that we are talking about, the inheritance by the DNA, the chromosomes and all those kind of things that we are talking about, is also affected by environment. For example, the jobs that we know before 2001 crisis. It's not the Jos we know now. I can bet you that because of a lot of crises that have happened, people have become more alert, more aggressive and all that. And that also will also affect their own DNA. The DNA and the chromosomes are not static. They are malleable, the circumstances and the situations of the individual. And when that happens, you will see some mutations happening and all that, and people pass it to the next generation. That is why you see a lot of times people will say, the children were having these days, there is like their ancestors coming back. Yes. Because some things that have been shaped by the previous generation are passed down here to the next generation, and they become more alert, more aware, more, as if you want, more. They have more scope than the older generation. So these are some of the things that have happened concerning the issue of those behaviors. Okay. You will also see that when people say that people from certain area are aggressive, people from certain area are peaceful, yes, we know that you can't put everybody with a brush, but the environment shapes everybody. Okay. If the collective unconsciousness of people in that environment is to be violent, is to engage in robbery, to engage in cheating and all that, the high tendency is there that a lot of people from that area will be involved in that kind of thing.
Now, Prof, let me cut you there. Sorry. So sometimes you find out that a child grows up in a particular community, maybe a very reserved community, let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. But you see that the child is aggressive, like they're all over the place. Is it possible that happens, and why?
Yes, it's possible. Like I said, there will always be individual variations, individual differences. Okay. So we can look at it, we can still look at it from the nature and nurture that we are talking about. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a child becomes aggressive. It may be, every child is a product of many generations. Mm-hmm. Father, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, and these things are passed on from generation to generation. Sometimes people have what we call dominant gene. Sometimes they have what we call recessive gene. Mm-hmm. The recessive gene is such that it is recessive. It is in the background. One generation may not inherit it. Another generation may inherit it. So it may be that there's somebody in that lineage that has those kind of things that passed it on. That's number one. Number two may also be that this individual has some unique experiences. What do I mean by unique experiences? Okay, so we know that by birth order, we have the first child, second child, third child, fourth child, and so on and so forth. All these children may be living in the same house, but they are not going through the same experiences.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
They are not going through the same experiences by the relationship that they have with one another, with their parents, the expectations of their parents, the expectations of society to them, and so on and so forth. This also might affect how they turn out in life. For example, when we talk about firstborn children, there are usually two variations. Firstborn children are driven to become assistant father or assistant mother. Yes. And by so doing, they become very responsible early in life, very driven and all that, and they end up carrying the weight of the rest of the family. Because it has been drummed into them from the beginning, you will have to take care of your children, your younger ones and all that. But there are some other firstborn children that will now revolt and say, this one is too much, I'm not the only one, and so on and so forth. This will be different from the experience of a middle child, for example, that the focus is not on him, because you have the first child, the focus is on the first children, the focus will be on the last children. There's a middle child that can become anonymous. Are you getting me now? Yeah. So you now see that those things affect who they are and how they become. Because the middle child, for example, may not have any responsibilities in terms of no pressure on him. The last child, for example, may just be laid back to say, okay, my other ones are there to take care of me, to take care of everything and all that. This, so you can see that who somebody becomes is a product of many factors, but the gene is a lot. It has a lot to do with it. And then when we now talk about that environment, I need to emphasize it again, that the experiences that people go through can become traumatic for them. So and trauma, there are certain things that everybody will take as trauma. For example, if there's one blast, somebody lost the parent, everybody knows that these are traumatic issues. There are things like rape, childhood molestation. Everybody knows that these are traumatic issues. So a lot of people in that category may carry a lot of wounds. But we also know that there are some things like verbal abuse that people may not readily take as trauma. But by the subjective interpretation of that individual, becomes trauma for that person. So somebody said one time that the father used to, she will look at herself in the mirror and say, she's a fine girl. And the father used to say, fine as how? You are not fine. There is nothing big about me. You are not fine. There is nothing spectacular about you. The father was saying it jokingly.
Yeah.
Not knowing that this girl child was carrying it in the mind. And she carried it into adulthood until one day the issues came out and she burst out crying and brought up all those things. And eventually the father had to apologize because that has even affected her relationship with the father over the years. So you can see that people's behavior is determined by a lot of things.
Okay, so Ms. John wants to ask a question.
Yeah. So you know that sometimes when children are growing up and they exhibit certain kinds of attitude or behavior, it's very easy for people to say, oh, they are in this phase of their lives where they are rude, they are in this phase of their life where they are doing this and doing that and speaking this way and speaking that way. It's very easy for people to say that about children. But how can we then know when that child is actually going through something so that we can adjust it as parents and maybe the society coming in to help?
All right.
What are some signs?
What are some what?
Signs to watch out for.
Signs.
Children.
Okay, is all right. Well, the first thing to know, every parent needs to how do I say it now? Parenting is not the same thing as just birthing children. That you are able to have intercourse, carry pregnancy, deliver a child, does not necessarily mean that you are going to be a good parent.
Absolutely.
Parenting is something that has to be learned. So everybody also have to learn parenting. Because, number one, you have said one thing, that when people start behaving somehow, you say that they are going through certain stages. But even those stages themselves have to be managed. Those stages have to be understood. And people need to be helped to navigate the different stages of their lives. Otherwise, they may get lost in the peculiarities and the uncertainties and the restlessness and all those kind of things that goes with different stages. So, even the normal one that you are talking about, where, for example, I was somewhere yesterday, a child came in and she stood by the door to greet her grandparents. And the grandparents said, "You come here and greet me." So I asked, how old is she? She said she was 13. So I said, okay, she's getting to the stage of self-awareness, self-consciousness, where they become conscious of themselves. And teenagers will sometimes become reserved because they are getting to find out who they are. But even at that level, their parents needs to be observant and draw them in. If somebody said one thing, he said even right from the beginning, children don't know their right from their left. So every time a child throws tantrum, it behoves you to be able to find out what the problem is and put the child through. So if people have not had good relationship with their children ab initio, to be able to have discussions with them and conversations with them, it will be difficult to suddenly want to say, oh, I want to know what is going on with this person, what is not going on with this person. So that is the number one thing. Number two things to find out what is really good. See, it is open-minded, that is maybe outgoing, that talks, and then all of a sudden child starts obedient. All of a sudden that child starts throwing tantrums and becoming aggressive and all that. You know that definitely something is going on. If a child is withdrawing to themselves, you know that definitely something is going on. So when there is a change in the behavior of a child, don't just think that, oh, it is just the stage. Try and find out and get closer to these children so that you know what is going on with them. Okay. Once children sometimes start having problem with their grades in school, a child that is doing well before, and then all of a sudden the grades start sliding down, a child that used to be well put together, neat and all that, and all of a sudden he or she does not care about the look and all that. All those things will point to you that something is going wrong here.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you mentioned a 13-year-old. Now I want to bring an instance where the child is younger than 13. With the permission of the parent, last week we had a mother called, and she mentioned how she's struggling with her son, who is 9. So in cases where the child is younger, for the teenage, of course, is a self-discovery age. But if the child is younger, and perhaps, in my own words now, the child is difficult to be led, what are the likely things to be done, and what do we need to take note of?
Okay, so when children are difficult, either way you want to look at it, everybody comes with a personality type ab initio. I met some of my friends, my childhood friends at the time, very recently, and by the time we have chatted in a few minutes, each of us started saying, you cannot change, you are still the same. These are people that we have known in our early teenage years, and now we are in our 50s, and yet we are still saying, you cannot change, you are still the same. Personality is there. So children come with their own temperament that eventually becomes personality. But sometimes the mothers and the fathers are not able to decipher that this is how this child is, and be able to navigate that child with that with that personality, and so the child becomes difficult. A child that, for example, is somebody that is creative, is somebody that learns by discussing and talking, but you are in a class where everybody needs to sit down quietly and all that, and this child wants to touch something, wants to move something around. Of course, we will say that this child is disobedient and troublesome. But that is the nature of that child. And so parents have to sit down to be able to sit down and learn about the uniqueness of their own children before you label them to be rebels and say that they are difficult. Sometimes it is parents' own agenda or whatever, or personality or whatever that they want to put, because they're the ones that call the shots now. So the child becomes a troublesome person and all that. But be that as it may, there are other times in which children actually can be problematic. We cannot rule out the fact that some children have things that we call conduct disorders. You understand? So conduct disorders, where children could be mischievous, could be problematic. Sometimes they set fire on things. Sometimes they are cruel to other children and even animals. They deliberately go against rules, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that people can look out for when somebody is deliberately, cruel, and all that.
Yeah.
So these are some of the signs,
All right.
and all that one can see
Okay.
to say that this child is having a problem.
So, sir, you mentioned something about parents sitting down to learn about their children.
Yes.
But I believe that for a parent to be able to adequately help their children, they also have to be in a good place mentally.
Yes.
But because a lot of parents didn't get a lot of help growing up, they also don't
Yeah.
know how to do better. So how
Yeah.
can, since we're Nigerians, how can Nigerian parents, work on their minds really, so that they are healthy enough, honestly, so that they're
Thank you
healthy
very
enough
much.
to help their children?
Thank you very much for this question. I want to put it this way.
Yeah.
This is the thing that we see that makes us do the thing that we are doing.
Oh yes.
We just believe that a lot of people don't have enough knowledge about human behavior, about themselves,
Yeah.
about mental health and all that. And what you don't have, you can't give.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, for example, when a parent himself or herself is depressed,
Yes.
there's no way you will not see problem with the child.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that happens is that children can sense when the vibe that you give them. Even as from infanthood, you have the social smile and all that. If a child is smiling and the mother is not smiling back because of depression or because of anxiety, because of bipolar illness and all that or whatnot, then that child cannot actually grow up well. So what are we saying, therefore? We are saying that knowledge of mental health should be widespread. People should be able to find out about their own health. What about your own personality type?
Yeah.
Do people know their own personality type? Do they know the different personality traits? Do they know the positives? Do they know the negatives? Do they know when they are under stress and they are manifesting some subtle signs of not being mentally well? I'm not even talking about mental illness yet, because a lot of people think that when we are talking about mental health, we are invariably talking about mental illness. No, there's a wide gap between being mentally healthy and having mental illness.
Yeah.
And that gap is where many people operate. They are not mentally healthy, because the definition of mental health is to say a state of well-being in which the individual is able to actualize his or her own potential, to cope with normal stresses of life, to be able to work productively and make contribution to society. How many people are actualizing their potentials? How many people are coping with normal stresses of life? How many people are working productively? How many people are contributing to their own society? So when people don't have these things, it will invariably affect their parenting. So what can we do, therefore, is to get into massive education. One of the things that makes me become a lecturer is to say, okay, let me contribute my quota from there, so that if I teach my medical student well, at least whatever specialty they go and do later, they will have good knowledge of mental health to be able to help their patients and all that. But then that is also why we started the work we are doing at NetWealth, to be able to give training to people so that they can have understanding. So we have things like workplace mental health program and all that. So what we are seeing is organizations, schools, societies, places of worship should make it a priority for people to have basic knowledge of mental health. And I'm not talking about mental illness, I'm talking about knowledge of mental health. So that with that knowledge, people will be able to do better. And then when people have mental illness, they will know the right places to go. Because once anything that is done hush, that is not openly discussed, becomes a taboo, becomes a problem. But when you talk about something openly, then people will be able to actually know that, okay, I have a problem, I can seek help and all that. And society will be better for it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Now, talking about seeking help, when we were talking about the young ladies last week, one of the things that we're looking at is the fact that Yes, they might be persecuted at the end of the day for assaulting a peer. But then
Yes.
from that video, the girls looked really violent.
Yeah.
Really violent. And so, like you said, people need to start seeking help. And I, for one, I felt even even if they're going to give them, persecution at the end of the day for whatever they've done, I feel like they need mental health, mental
Beautiful.
help. Because
Okay.
how can
Go on.
people get into that kind of violence, at 20 years, and they are females,
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you have to say about that, sir?
What I have to say about that is that, okay, let me put it this way. Many a times in almost everything, we are looking at it from the criminal justice system, from justice and all that. Very beautiful. Justice is an integral part of life. And sometimes when people don't seem to have been given justice, they continue to hurt. But we must also look at it from the health perspective. And when I talk about health perspective, I'm not just talking about physical health, I'm also talking about mental health. I'm talking about psychological health. For example, do you know that many people, when they talk about rapists and rape victims or survivors, they are always thinking just in terms of the rapist going to jail and all that. But do you know that, look, hurting people hurt people. Anybody that can go and rape another has a problem, a psychological problem, deep-seated one. And such a person, even if you give them justice and put them behind bars, they need to be treated psychologically.
That's right.
So when we take people from the point of view of treatment, the society will be better for it, because such people need to be psychological problems that needs to be managed through psychotherapy and sometimes through medication. So, in the same vein, these children you are talking about, they can be prosecuted and all that. But what will make a child to be that violent? It is there is a problem, either a personality disorder or an illness or just wrong parenting or wrong environment and all that. But all that can also be managed. And when we say manage now, we're not talking about turnkey, because that's where the problem comes. A lot of people think of treatment or management in terms of take medication or go through certain sessions and then you are okay, you are released. No, it may be lifelong. You understand? I used to tell people, when people come for rehabilitation, I will tell them, you go through minimum of 3 months inpatient. After inpatient care, you continue outpatient care for a minimum of 2 years. If there is no breakdown after that 2 years, before you are discharged. But that is on outpatient basis. But even after that, you still tell them you have to be in the atmosphere of treatment. What is the atmosphere of treatment? The right places to go, the right environment to be, the right company to keep, all those kind of things. That is still part of management. So it's the same vein with this kind of children. We need to get them psychological help. Sometimes they will need to see a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, a clinical psychologist, and so on and so forth. Usually it's a multidisciplinary approach. And then they may have to continue. Sometimes they continue with things like basic life skills. Because one of the problems is this: when people don't have basic life skills, they can get into this kind of thing. They don't have negotiation skills. They lack emotional intelligence. They lack ability to take rejection. Are you getting me now?
Yes.
These are some of the things that everybody needs to learn. And I say it all of the time. People don't need to break down and come into full-blown psychiatric or psychological treatment before we teach these things. In fact, at our own level, we say that good parenting is one of the most evidence-based prevention methods for preventing people that go into substance use disorder. Good parenting. And good parenting has nothing to do with psychiatry. Well, psychiatrists can do it, psychologists can do it, social worker can do it. Anybody can learn good parenting. Do you see now? The same way, basic good classroom management, where you carry everybody along. Not that all the children that are doing well are the ones that answer all the question, but you neglect the ones that are not doing well. And so they form a clique among themselves, get into drugs, get into prostitution, get into violence. But when you can carry children along, even the ones that are weak, you find a way to manage your classroom well and involve them. Keep children in school, keep them dreaming. The people that cannot become doctors or lawyers or engineers, they can become athletes, they can become, recognize and identify different people with their different personalities, different strengths and all that, and channel them that way. It may be, I used to remember when I was in Ife, OAU, we passed through the pitch theater. People will be beating drum and dancing there. That's their own cause. And some of them are the ones we are seeing in Nollywood today, making waves as celebrities. Do you understand? So all these things are the ways to prevent all these problems. Not that we just look at everything in terms of criminal justice system, punish them. No, it doesn't work that way.
So, we're also looking at troubled times, and I mean, everybody living in the present world today can tell that there are many things that are causing some of this, our hearts to be troubled, the insecurities, the, political instability and all of those things. And these are things that children are also exposed to. And I believe that you've mentioned that some of these factors unconsciously even begin to affect their, mental health. What are some structures families and even the society really can deliberately implement to ensure that we wade through some of these troubled times?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, now, like you say you will check you will see some of the things I post on social media and all that. How did on October 1st now we'll be doing financial independence and wealth creation conference. We call it Thrive 2.0. Last year we talked about Thrive. Why is the psychiatrist talking about thriving in these present times? It is because we know that if people have good financial education and they have good financial resources and all that, they will be able to be good parents to their children and so on and so forth. So, how do we navigate these trying times? Everybody must have good education and provide good environment for their children. Now, if a father does not have a job, or has a business that is not doing well and everything, he comes home and takes it out on the wife, takes it out on the children and all that. If times are hard, the parents become aggressive, everybody becomes aggressive. But when people learn financial education and they get into businesses, careers, and they can manage themselves, that's one way of helping themselves and helping their children. Number two is to be deliberate about the places that you take your children to, the kind of schools they go to, the kind of associations they have, and all that. You must be deliberate about it. You cannot say because times are hard and just leave children to roam around, go from morning till night, and you don't see them. You must create time. Be deliberate about creating time, even for recreation. Sometimes I tell people, you can carry your children to the cinema. Go and watch a film where you are going to use that film to teach some morals, to teach some ideas, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, you have used one bed to kill two stones. Sometimes you have to carry your children and go and let them sit with you in your place of business. Teach them certain things. Have you noticed that the rich people are teaching their children actively?
That's right.
While the middle-aged people and everything, they just say, go to school, go to school, go to school. No, you must be deliberate to give them life skills and life education, even in these time periods. Sometimes you might have to help children to find in our time, everything is go to school, write your jam, during their summer holidays. You can take them to places where they can teach life skills. They can learn one additional thing or the other. Learn to be responsible rather than just roaming the streets and all that. These are some of the things that people can put into place. But beyond that, it's also that, well, you have said family. So, but families, one of the things that helped me, because is when you look at your background and you look at the kind of faith that your parents have put you into, you have no other way. You have no other life. So, because we know, even scientifically, that people of faith do better than people who are irreligious. Let's put it that way. And when I say people of faith, from the scientific point of view, it's not necessarily only one kind of religion.
That's right.
It is that people must have a connection with God. But being a Christian, I will say that okay, people must have a relationship with God. Are you getting me now? And all that. But any religion, I don't think there's any religion that teaches that people should be quarrel to other people and all that kind of thing. But what we look for in spirituality is the sense of connectedness to God, a belief that my life is worth something and I'm here to achieve things, to contribute and all that.
That's right.
So when people do that, they do better. So parents must be deliberate in getting their children into such spaces that give them a sense of purpose, so that even when things are hard, they are looking for creative ways to fulfill their destiny.
Now, how can I balance? Sometimes you see that a parent is trying to be, they say, be your child's friend, so that they'll be able to open up. And at the same time, sometimes they say you need to be a little bit firm, so that you'll be able to. How can I balance this? Because sometimes the children will say, daddy is too tough, that's why we run to mommy. And then they say, no, sometimes you need to be the bad police or the bad
Yes.
cop for them to. So how do I balance being, so
All
that
right.
I'm not too harsh, and then I'm not like
soft.
a circus walker?
All right, so one of the things I used to say is that you must be friendly with your children, but you are not their friends.
Okay.
You must be friendly with your children, but you are not their friends. They are not your friends.
Okay.
You are only friendly with them. So there must be boundaries. They must know where they cannot get into, the things they cannot do and all that. But at the same time, you must be friendly with them, such that they can open up to you. So where do you draw the lines?
Yes.
See, the truth of the matter is that is the parenting we are talking about. Okay, so today is Sunday and I'm coming from church and everything, and we are talking about Jesus Christ being the divine and at the same time being human. We are talking about the lion and the lamb.
Yes.
At a time is the consuming fire. At another time, our God is full of mercy. It's the same thing we need to do as parents. So children must know where that they cannot cross this line. So sometimes people talk about spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people, when they look at spare the rod and spoil the child, the first thing that comes to their mind is that they must beat the children.
Yes.
Well, what the scripture says in Psalm 23, it said, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Wow.
It is not for beating. So the rod can also mean instruction.
Yeah.
The rod can also mean direction. The rod can also mean teaching. Because that's what actually the shepherd does to the sheep. It is rod. Hardly does he beat them. He uses it to direct them, to guide them, to give them instruction. So the first thing is that you must be deliberate in giving your children instruction. There cannot be any ambiguity about where you stand concerning issues, where they stand concerning issues and all that. So you must give them instruction. You must give them knowledge. You must give them understanding. You must teach them. You cannot expect excellence from people that you don't teach. You cannot expect excellence from people that you don't train. Because sometimes people have people that we call it schism. Schism. Mommy is saying one thing, daddy is saying another.
Yeah.
Mommy talks about the same thing this time around. She beats me. At another time, I do the same thing. She cuddles me. So there is the person does not know where they stand in anything.
Yeah.
So no, but it cannot be like that. There must be instruction. There must be teaching. There must be training. There must be direction. In fact, you spend most of your time doing that with the children. But they must also know there are boundaries, and boundaries must be well maintained. The boundaries must not be fluid. The child must know that if I do this, this is the repercussion. And you don't give any threat that you don't carry out. It is better not to give a threat than to give a threat that you don't carry out. Are you getting me now?
Yes,
So those are the ways to balance things. And many a times you talk to them, once they already know the whatever and they know the repercussion of those things, it will be easier.
Yeah. True.
Yes, it's a delicate thing. There is no tongue key about it.
It is
Because
really.
as you continue to learn along.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Time is fast spent, but I don't know, sir. This is an appeal. I don't know if you are available for parents to call you, maybe not on air, to just for some time to ask questions. Because if we're taking calls now, time is already fast spent. So maybe under your organization, if it is okay to maybe just call and then make some inquiries.
Okay, yes, no problem about that.
There's a phone number so that those listening can reach
Okay.
out to you directly.
Okay, so they can call on 0803 677 0092.
Can we have the number again, please?
0803 677 0092.
0092. Okay,
Yes.
so we have the number in case anybody needs it. We sincerely.
I can also send you another one
Okay, if you
later,
can,
maybe.
if you can. Send
Or I can call it now if you want.
Yes, go
please.
ahead.
0902 438 7072. 0902 438 7072. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your time. We sincerely appreciate. And honestly, I've been a follower, or I've been following you on social media. But you sound even much more powerful than what we see on social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
We sincerely
Yes,
appreciate
God
it.
bless
for
you.
your time.
What will be your final words before you leave? Maybe in just
My final word is that people must be deliberate about issues of life. We don't become parents just because we birth children. Parenting is something that must be deliberately learned. And you cannot give to people what you don't have. So you yourself must strive to have an understanding of who you are, maintain your own good mental health, be responsible people in society, good emotional intelligence, and so on and so forth, before you can bequeath it to the next generation. So everybody must learn to be better so that you give what you have.
That's right.
Sorry, sir. Before you go, I want to know what a mind wealth doctor is.
That is something I coined for myself. I am a psychiatrist.
Oh, amazing.
I'm a psychiatrist. But I'm a psychiatrist because I'm a social psychiatrist. I believe that anybody, even when they come to me with illness, they don't go back with illness, but beyond that, they go back having a better understanding of themselves and become successful members of society.
Awesome.
So that is what I mean by mind wealth. So we are looking at using the mind to create wealth beyond treatment from illness. So and at our organization, we say we help people to achieve sustainable success through having good mental and psychological well-being. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Then using the medium of training, workshops, and sometimes therapy, rehabilitation, if that be the case. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor. We
Bless you,
sincerely
sir.
appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Enjoy
having
the
me.
rest
All
of your
right.
day,
Have a
sir.
great
God
Sunday.
bless you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you very much,
Yes,
Uncle.
sir. So we've been talking with Professor Kingsley Mayowa Okonoda, who is a Mind Wealth doctor, and I think you have the numbers.
Yes,
so
I
for
have.
those that might want to reach out to him, I'm sure from his voice, you know that he's somebody that is very
Experienced.
accessible, so you
Yeah.
can
Okay, so I just got one of the numbers, but
Yes.
it's 080 03 67 70092. Again, the number is 080 03 67 70092.
All right. So I think it's 003. 0803.
Oh, 0803.
Please,
Oh,
yes.
apologies.
So please, let's just correct that. 0803,
yeah.
then 677,
Alright.
then 0092. 0803 677 0092. So that is the number to reach Professor Kingsley Mayowa Okonoda. Well, I think I have held on to what I need for today, Ms. John.
Yeah. I mean, same. It's obvious that it's something that can be done. You know, sometimes when we talk about these issues, we make it look as if we've gotten to a dead end. But you know, the good doctor today is showing us that there is work to be done, but it's good work,
It's
and
good
it's
work.
work that it's possible.
That's right.
So I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful.
Well, this is where the quickie crumbles for the Sunday Gospel. We've been with you from 6 a.m. and now it is a few seconds to top of the hour where we pack our bags and our baggages and we leave the studio. We sincerely appreciate that you've been an amazing listener today. Thank you so much.
Thank
And we
you.
wish you all the best for the week.
Oh yes, and just be the light that you are. Remember our Sunday school
Yes.
radio